Hey, and here we are again for part 2 of the Peasant Poetry lockdown gigs. As I said in part 1, we were supposed to have just the one gig, but I got requests, so we did a request show, and part 2 is what I wanted to focus on, and part 2 is for the Black Lives Matter movement. Specifically the one in Welling Hatfield, because I'm a member of it, even though I don't live there anymore. But yeah, I was at their first gathering back in 2020, and we were thinking back in October that we'd like to do this thing, but unfortunately other things got in the way because of the COVID stuff and all that. But we're finally getting to do it, and so this is for Black Lives Matter, and they do. I'm going to start with this one. It's called Political Doctrine, and it's mine. Hopefully it's yours as well, but you know, we wait and see. I will not back down, nor will I stand back, but will stand with my brothers each time we're attacked. I will not remain silent, nor will my head bow to oppression or injustice that you throw at us now. I will not back down, nor will I stand back, but will stand with my sisters each time we're attacked. I would never betray them, though you think me a fool, but will stand and bear witness to the crimes that you do. I will not back down, nor will I stand back, but will stand with my family each time we're attacked. And if you should hurt them and I can still stand, then beware retribution that will fall from my hand. I will not back down, nor will I stand back, but will stand with my friends each time we're attacked. You can break us and batter us until our bodies are rent, but you will never defeat us till our strength is all spent. I will not back down, nor will I stand back, but I'll stand and oppose you each time you attack. I will not be ordered, nor will I be told, and you have my word, and that's worth more than gold. Cheers. I probably started writing about, if we should call it that, Black Lives Matter, a long time ago. This one dates from 2001, and give you some sort of idea of what was happening in the United Kingdom back in 2001. This is called the black and white of it. It's either us or them and us, while politicians make a fuss, using every means to get across their sad, pathetic lecture. But we all know just what that means, the withholding of all our dreams, spokespersons building up their schemes of a multi-ethnic culture, whose children, throwing rocks and stones, can't leave things well enough alone, and whose parents all adopt a tone of racial confrontation, as mob violence on our TV screens, orchestrated by those behind the scenes, whose attitudes and all they mean will never add up to integration. So leaning backwards all the time, we pick sides on the battle lines, being force-fed lies, the biggest crime in this given situation. As resentment shows on bigots' faces, black, brown and white all share the trace. It's just a matter of which race you run as to the winner. And should you stand alone, your views distorted by the tone of those who rant, who sulk and moan of all political persuasion. Still ghettos breed the dogs of war, blame disenchantment with the law, while I'm all right Jacks, keeping score for the coming conflagration. Sad times, very sad times. In 2007 I flew out to West Africa for the first time, and living in the village, the only white person there, I found I had a friend. He was an odd friend, admittedly, in that he was black, he was African, he was a Muslim, he drank, he smoked ganja, and he was argumentative as hell. But for some reason we bonded, and we talked through the hours into the night, into the early hours of the morning in one particular case. And he had ideas. He had these ideas, but unfortunately he couldn't articulate them to anybody because they all thought he was mad. They were living under a dictatorship at the time, and they weren't his ideas, that dictatorship. He had something a little bit broader in his head. And I wrote down some of his ideas, and I turned them into a poem, song, whichever you like. And I do this live on stage. It's been done quite a lot. I tend to do it with a wife because verses 2 and 5 are actually done in Wolof, which is the language that is commonly used out there, or one of the languages that's commonly used out there. And excuse me. And this time I'm going to do the translated version. So verses 2 and 5 are the ones that are done in Wolof, usually by my wife. And this time it's going to be done in English. So you'll get the idea of some of his ideas. It's called Ibu's Song. And I'd like to dedicate it to his children, Ami, Samsudeen, because they're a couple of lovely kids. And it goes like this. We'll sing our simple folk song while remembering the past. We'll sing it for the mysteries of life, both deep and vast. We'll sing it with our family and sing it with our friends. Sing it with a happy heart, then sing it once again. We'll sing it for our elders whose race is almost run. Sing it for the children and their wisdom yet to come. Sing it for our teachers and the knowledge they impart. Sing our song for everyone and sing it from the heart. Let our message be of hope and peace that all can understand. Let it resonate from all our hearts till it reaches other lands. Our simple song of freedom, our song of dignity. Let it roll on like a river as it flows into the sea. So sing it for the black man and sing it for the white. Sing it until every man has turned toward the light. We'll sing for Mama Africa, sing for East and West. Sing it loud for everyone who ever felt oppressed. Sing the song for freedom and sing for liberty. Sing it loud till everyone can walk with dignity. Sing the song up to the sun and sing it to the rain. Sing, for if you lift one heart, it will not be in vain. Our simple song of freedom, a song of dignity. Let it roll on like the river as it flows into the sea. Let it roll on like a river as it flows into the sea. Let it roll on like a river until all mankind stands free. So there you go. That's the British translation of Ibu's song. Sadly, he never lived to hear it from my lips. His children did, his parents did, but he passed away in 2009, and I miss him to this day. But then it started getting serious. My wife and I tried to get our children into the country for a holiday, into the United Kingdom, and they were turned down on the grounds of, if you come in, we don't think you'll go back, so you're not coming in. That was the UK Home Office deal. At the time, the visas cost £186 each, and if you get turned down, they keep your money. The easiest way to extort money from people I've ever known. This was written about it. It's called Visas, Policy of Pain. Why can't we be together? Why do we have to cry? What is it that we're guilty of? Two more victims of your policy of pain. You talk of family values, how little you value mine. Kept apart for expediency in the shadow of democracy. Two more victims of your policy of pain. Why can't we be together? Why do we have to cry? We put our faith in honesty, yet you treat us so contemptuously. If you had one shred of decency, one day you might set Africa free. But only white Europeans, it's plain to see, cross borders freely into your country. So don't talk of family values, not to me. Your words ring out so hollowly. A sham of government transparency to appease the far-right fraternity. Kept apart for expediency by those who sold their integrity for a European so-called democracy. What is it that we're guilty of? Just two more victims of your policies of pain. I hope you all know that in 2010, when the Tories and the Liberal Democrats formed a coalition, they put the barriers up on our borders, Europeans only, which is now why we've got so many white immigrants and very few black ones, brown ones. Africa, Asia, it's all the same. But we wouldn't stay silent on it, and it carried on. It carried on with the children, believe it or not us. And we used to take them out when we went out there. We used to take them out rock band t-shirts because they're quite prized by the local youth out there. And the boys want them, and they don't like it when the girls have got them and they haven't. But when you've got three of them that you're dealing with, and they all want exactly the same, because otherwise they argue. Doesn't always work, but occasionally we can get three the same, and we got three the same, and this is what occurred, because I wrote about it. It all started with those t-shirts. That's what it's called. And I do this quite a lot live, so you know, a lot of people will have heard this already. It all started with those t-shirts that we gave the kids that day. They like their rock band t-shirts because they like to sing and play. But their culture being different, they didn't know the band. The Ramones aren't played on African radio, they're not represented in their land. So it started with those t-shirts, and who are the Ramones? And can we listen to something? This is music we don't know. It isn't rap or reggae, and it's not what we would do. But it's got a beat, and it's got a heart, and a really good intro too. So I told them all to go away and to see what they could do. Without guitars, they're up against it. Drums and shakers might not do. We'll see if they can come up with something they could play, as the time signatures of Western rock are alien to them anyway. But they went and rewrote the whole damn song. Kept some key lines in for reference. They're happy with the words they wrote, which have really made a difference. The song is now from Africa. They've made it all their own. It comments upon their neighbours who left their countries to find new homes, dying by the boatload because the EU won't let them in. And they all know some who didn't make it. Their village has its fair share of them. 6 months later, they have an arrangement. That took quite a bit of work. Minutes snatched when they got back from school after doing their homework. And this one uses voices, a tambourine, shaker and a drum. But their attitude has changed somewhat. This song isn't sung for fun. It's sung to fight injustice. It's sung to illustrate the plight of those who have to go the back way, who do not have the right to even visit parents who live in the UK, like those 3 girls from the Gambia who rewrote that song that day. But now they're up on YouTube for the whole wide world to see, to put to shame the UK government and their apartheid policy. And it all started with those t-shirts. And who are the Ramones? But it's now become a battleground to bring our children home. For we've not stopped fighting either. And one day this injustice has to stop. From the mouths of babes and children. Blood sisters, blitzkrieg bop. And if you want to find them, doing a live version from the compound in the Gambia, you can look them up on YouTube. Blood Sisters, Blitzkrieg Bop. And if you're one of those musicians who says, how dare they do that? The Ramones are brilliant. The Ramones are, they wouldn't know the Ramones if it jumped up and bit them on the backside. They know exactly who the Ramones are. I can tell you that. Exactly. And they probably, in the case of one of them, probably know more about the Ramones than the vast majority of people who complained about it. But, you know, that's the way it goes. So, going the back way, as it's known in Africa, trying to get to Europe because your money's been used up, because the European member states take all your money and then refuse the visa. So this one's from the immigrant's perspective. It's called Tossed Against the Side of Seven. If you know anything about dice games, you'll know what that title means. These are not my people. These are not my friends. These are not my people. These are not my friends. Those whose talk is cheap could never make amends for the suffering and pain that they inflict upon us still. Who will weep for us when we cry? Who will pray for us as we die? These are not my people. These are not my friends. We who dare to dream. We who dare to try. We who are not your kind. As you sit and watch behind your man-made barriers, offering us one last scream, captured for eternity before it's shared with the world on your social media. No, these are not my people. These are not my friends. My people know heartbreak. My people know suffering. My people know when to cry. My people who have never known your freedoms. My people know how to die. Excuse me. That was written when we first heard that 3 people we know had gone the back way, and one had got to Italy, and the other 2 were in the second boat, and they didn't make it. They drowned. So with what was going on in the UK, I wrote this. It's called As Middle England Sleeps. As Middle England sleeps, Ahmed pulls himself into the back of the truck. His destination is the United Kingdom, and he has come so far. He had watched from the shadows as his family had been put to death in front of him for his father's crime of criticising an army general. He has a brother in the UK, but every time his family had applied for visas to join him, they'd been turned down. Now he sleeps in the back of a refrigeration unit. He'd run, crossing deserts, crossing mountains and crossing continents, fighting to stay alive as they crossed the sea. He'd managed to escape the guards' clutches when they'd been pulled out of the boat, taken ashore, and he'd kept on running, begging when he could, stealing when he couldn't. But now, less than 20 miles to freedom, exhaustion catches up with him as Middle England sleeps. Fatima tries to hold her daughter out of the water as the relentless waves become more powerful. She clings to the wreckage of the boat that was taking them to freedom. They had come so far, running for their lives as her family died, put to death in front of them for not being of the same religion as their invaders. She has no one left but her daughter, for she has never met her cousin, but she prays that he will help them when she gets to the United Kingdom. They had run from the murderous fanatics who had invaded their land. She'd sold her body 4 times for the money to get the pair of them on the boat, and she was ashamed. But before God she had to do something, and she'd done so. Now she clings to its wreckage while holding her 3-year-old child out of the water, praying for a miracle as Middle England sleeps. They found Ahmed when they opened the back of the truck. His passport was still stitched into his tattered jacket. They knew who he was, but he was dead 30 minutes after the refrigeration unit had been turned on. The frozen corpse of what had once been a man who had run for his life to be with his only remaining family, as Middle England sleeps. Fatima's body was washed ashore 3 days later. A fisherman had seen the wreckage of the boat, towed it to the shore to show the authorities. Just another piece of wreckage, probably belonging to the people smugglers on the far shore, but nobody would ever know the truth, only God and the fish. Just another corpse floating in the waters as Middle England sleeps. Rajan held his wife's hand. Mihaela was trembling. They were leaving their home. In 24 hours they'd be in their new adopted homeland. Rajan hadn't found a job, but he did not need one. The United Kingdom's benefit system and their begging would support them. He'd make sure he saved as much as he could to send back home for his father to build the villa he'd promised Mihaela. As Middle England sleeps. And that is why so many people go the back way and try to come here. It's not the best way of doing things, but the reality is when you have no other choice, you take your life in your hands and you do it. We now know 5 people from the village in the Gambia where the children live who have died going the back way. One of which was a 15-year-old child, and it should not be occurring. But nobody wants to stand up and say, this is wrong, this is political, and it should not be occurring. Nobody. And when you think about it, it shouldn't be occurring. These people should be helped, but nobody wishes to help them. Nobody. Not a single political party in this country wishes to help, wishes to raise their voice and say, look, it's political enough. And it's so wrong. But there you go. So, we get towards the latter part and what's been happening recently, because nothing's changed as far as our family's concerned. We are still one of the 320,000 families at last count who cannot get relatives into the United Kingdom. And we're fighting it. We managed to get one in. We're fighting on the second one now. But because of COVID, no court cases, not at the moment. But we've got to go to court to do it, and who knows whether we'll win. We won the first round, but will we win the second? That is the question. And then the George Floyd incident occurred in the USA, and the saddest thing of all, I can't breathe. Say it. I can't breathe. Didn't make any sense. It was understandable, given what the police do and what black people have to put up with. But it didn't make any sense. And I wrote this. Probably, I think it's the first one that I wrote after George Floyd was, we'll say murdered, because he died violently at somebody else's hands. The reality is the policeman probably didn't mean to kill him. Not that way anyway. But it still doesn't make a lot of sense. So for the USA and anybody in the USA who's tuning into this, excuse me, the Trump Town riots. How much more of this do you think people will take? How much more pain do you want us to feel? You cannot pretend it's not happening here. It's your wake-up call and it's real. You think you can murder us day after day and the perpetrators never taken to task? Just put them in uniform to play out your games, which is why I'm having to ask. When will it stop? When will it cease? What do you expect people to do? What colour skin does somebody have to avoid being murdered by you? When white equals might, which is certainly not right, you expect us to bow and to scrape, to eat shit from your boot and turn the other cheek when there's nowhere to run or escape. So bring on your uniforms, bring on your guns, show the world what you've got to say. Murder and hatred enshrined in your law, killing anyone who stands in your way. How much more pain do you want people to feel? What do you expect people to do when your justice is never seen to be done, and all because of white racists like you? But that was the USA. Over here, it's getting sillier. It's getting even more silly. There's so many words that we're told now, you can't say this, you can't say this. We have to refer to people of colour. Are you having me on? My wife, who's blacker than a lot of people in this country, refers to herself as a black woman, an African black woman, and she won't have it any other way. And do you know what? I think she's right. I'll go to the wire on that, supporting her. She is a proud black African woman. Full stop, end of. A woman of colour, what? Pink? Purple? Green? Horse shit. She's a black African woman and I love her to bits. So when you pick on words that people say and you take them out of context because you wish to make a political point, because you wish to follow an ideology, do us a favour and just think what you're saying, because it's ridiculous. It really is. And I wrote something about it, and this is it. It's called The Fruit-Picking Racist Blues. I've just picked all our blackcurrants because they were looking rather lush. And if I'd left them any longer, the birds would have had them off the bush. We've only had it 18 months, but boy, that bugger grew from probably 18 inches high till it's taller now than you. But it seems there is a problem. Blackcurrants cannot be called that. Apparently it's now a racist term dreamed up by some left-wing twat. I showed the picture of on Facebook because it gave us £1.5 of ripe and juicy blackcurrants, plus the few that fell to ground. But as soon as my picture hit the screen, the abuse just started up. Because I'm white and I grow blackcurrants, that makes me a racist cunt. Now someone's called the police on me. There are TV cameras camped outside. My wife and kids have run away and there's nowhere here to hide. Reporters from The Guardian are clamouring at the door. Seems I'm worse than Tommy Robinson and I've hurt black people sore. There's now a baying lynch mob outside now, and not a friend in sight. And all because I picked our blackcurrants and had the misfortune to be white. Do us all a favour, peeps. Keep the stupidity to a minimum. And talking of stupidity and what we're allowed to say and what we're not allowed to say and all that, this is a reminder to those white people who have a left-wing ideology and like to call people names on social media. It's just a reminder, because some people need to be reminded. I'm white. My wife, children, most of them, are black. So you're saying that my life doesn't matter because only black lives matter. Up the road from us, 5 doors up, there's a black guy with a white wife. Are you telling us that his life matters but her life doesn't? That is ridiculous. It's absurd and it's stupid. Get it through your heads. The vast majority of people who are black don't seem to have a problem with it. But a lot of people who are white, with their holier than thou attitude, they do seem to have a problem with it. So I wrote this about it. It's called All Lives Matter. And the reason I wrote it is because they do. All lives matter, and that's a fact. Not just yours and not just black, not just white, not just brown. All lives matter while this earth turns round. All lives matter when times get rough, when those needing our help can't get enough. Reach out your hands, help if you can. It's not too late to help your fellow man. All lives matter, yours and mine. Makes no difference, not at this time. Too much blood and too much pain to watch it all happen again and again. All lives matter, but some forget. Too much to lose, or too much to get. Too much hatred dwelling in the past. Can't let it go to move forward at last. All lives matter, so do what you can. Take a stand to help your fellow man. They depend on us as we depend on you, because all lives matter, and it's the least we can do. All lives matter, and that's a fact. Not just yours and not just black, not just white, not just brown. All lives matter while this earth turns round. We depend on, they depend on, other people depend on. All lives matter. Get it through your heads. So we're gonna I'm gonna sort of vacate the vocal chair, and I have a guest. Excuse me. And I'm going to be joined by my daughter, who's going to do a poem for you. It's called Song of the Skype Children, and it's ready for her now. So if you'd like to come and join me on stage, dear.
Song of the Skype Children. We are the Skype children who are left on our own. We are the Skype children forever alone. For we have no parents or none that are home. The only way we have contact is over a phone. We are the Skype children. Our father's not here. He can't give us advice. He can't allay our fear. This country rejects him, for he is not like the rest. But he's still our father, and we think he's the best. We are the Skype children, always ready to call. There's no other way to talk to our mother at all. For she cannot be with us, to hug or to hold. This country doesn't want her here, or so we've been told. We are the Skype children, those this country forgets. We are the Skype children that this country rejects. We are the Skype children, there's nothing more we can do except ask, how would you feel if it happened to you?
Hey, Lindy. Move over. Move over. Let me get back in shot. Right. I'm going to end the poetry bit of this with one more poem. I'm going to dedicate it to of all the things she forgot. I'm going to dedicate it to Sir Keir Starmer, Jeremy Corbyn and Ed Miliband, and the rest of the Labour Party in Parliament. It's dedicated to them. I'm sure you all saw the photograph after the George Floyd murder of the Labour Party taking the knee outside Parliament. And all I can say is, what a bunch of hypocrites. Yes, every one of them. Every one of them. Because for 10 years they have said nothing. And yet they knew what was going on. So we'll finish this part of the proceedings with this particular poem. It's called the Black Lives Matter Blues. It took some of you long enough to know what some of us knew back years ago. It never mattered to you then, your ideology never mentioned them. You never cared about their lives, their families, children, husbands, wives. You never walked within their shoes, never felt their Black Lives Matter blues. One man dies in brutal fashion and you're up in arms to fight white oppression. But you turned and looked the other way when the referendum came your way. You voted to keep your precious Europe white. You didn't think twice, so that's all right. Black lives never mattered so long as your views held back any Black Lives Matter blues. And you can't disguise the road you took and all the lives that you forsook. It's been going on for far too long and you cannot tell me we were wrong. If Black Lives Matter here and now, what price was Europe, your sacred cow? How hypocritical are your views now you support the Black Lives Matter blues? We've had 10 years of apartheid on our borders. Or will you claim you were following orders? We all know where that excuse came from. We also know it was so wrong. People never checked what they'd been told while black lives were being bought and sold. Those black lives never mattered to you, hiding behind the Black Lives Matter blues. So have your riots, take your stand. Your politics go hand in hand. Right wing, left wing, both the same, always fixed on someone else to blame. If you cannot see with your own eyes what politicians do, that's no surprise. There's no heads you win and tails you lose when you fight the Black Lives Matter blues. Black lives matter, and that's a fact. They always did, now there's no way back. Politicians will scream and racists bleat, but they're just wank stains on a stained white sheet. Go back to sleep, turn out your light, if you cannot stand for what is right. Why not try walking in their shoes? Then you'd sing the Black Lives Matter blues. I have nothing but contempt for the current Labour Party, and that's every one of them who sits in Parliament. There isn't a single one that I would give house room to, and that is a fact. The whole subject has been officially, at the Labour Party, off limits for the past 10 years. And we were told that by somebody standing for election at the Labour Party, which is why they cannot help us. So, there you go. Come on, Sybil, get your backside up here, come on.
You're gonna cut that off, right? Ah, funny.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Right, we're going to end with a couple of songs which sort of sum up what's been going on. The first one was written about the death of Amadou Diallo back in 2006 or 7, whichever. He was shot to death in the USA, and reaching for his wallet to try and prove who he was. But nothing was ever done. So I say nothing was ever done. Somebody actually wrote a song about it and then got barred by the New York Police Department for writing it and performing it. It's amazing what you have to do sometimes. So we're going to do that for Black Lives Matter, and then we're going to finish with a song by the same composer which sort of sums up our family. As you can see, black, white, black, white. You ready?
Yep.
41 shots. 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 And we'll take that ride across this bloody river to the other side. 41 shots cut through the night. You're kneeling over their body in the vestibule, praying for his life. Well, is it a gun? Is it a knife? Is it a wallet? This is your life. It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
No secret, my friend. You get killed just for living in your American skin.
41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots.
41 shots, laying against a child ready for school. She says, on these streets, children, you got to understand the rules. If an officer stops you, promise me you'll always be polite, and that you'll never ever run away, and promise me that you'll keep your hands inside. Well, is it a gun? Is it a knife? Is it a wallet? This is your life. It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
No secret, my friend. You get killed just for living in your American skin.
41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. Forty-one shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots.
Is it a gun? Is it a knife? Is it in your heart? Is it in your eyes? It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
It ain't no secret.
41 shots, and we'll take that ride. Cross this bloody river to the other side. 41 shots, my boots caked in the mud. We're baptized in these waters,
Baptized in these waters,
and in each other's blood.
in each other's blood.
Is it a gun? Is it a knife? Is it a wallet? This is your life. It ain't no secret.
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 No secret, my friend. You get killed just for living in. Get killed just for living in. You can get killed just for living in your American skin.
41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots.
We said we'd walk together, our family come what may. And then came the twilight, should we lose our way? And if as we're walking, a hand should slip free, I will wait for you. If I fall behind, wait for me. Well, we swore we'd travel as a family side by side, that we'd help each other stay in stride. But each of us steps out so differently. I will wait for you. Should I fall behind, wait for me.
Now everyone dreams of those what's lasting and true.
All men are created equal.
But now we have all seen what some people will do. So let's make our steps clear so that others may see.
And I'll wait for you. Should I fall behind, wait for me.
41 shots.
41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. 41 shots. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We hope we did alright, apart from screwing up at the end, but you got to laugh. You got to laugh. It was going so well, right until the end. But you can't win them all. That's the thing. That's the thing. So we hope you enjoyed the gig. Sorry about the occasional bit of bad language, but they're in the poems and I'm not going to apologise for them. But there's just one thing I want to say before we end. If you watched the inauguration of Joe Biden the other day, you will have seen a young lady who stole the show, absolutely stole it, called Amanda Gorman. Brilliant performance. Doesn't write the same way I write, writes totally differently. And all I can say is, if there's any kids out there watching this, write. Don't copy her, don't copy me. Let it come from you. Write. Because you start writing, then you can articulate. You can articulate what you've got in your head. All these things need to happen. They need to happen for your generation. Not my generation, your generation. And it hasn't started yet. But she started something. She really did. And she should be a role model for everybody. Not just the Black Lives Matter movement, but for everybody. She did it right, and bless her for doing so. That's all I can say. Thanks for listening. That's the end of the Peasant Poetry second gig, and hope you enjoyed it. It's something we've been planning since October, and it's now at an end. So let me drop those. Thank you.